My boss, Ethan, is a total bastard. Every time he has a blind date, I have to play his girlfriend. He looks like a saint. I look like a gold digger. I'm done. Seriously. You've had the Harbor City project for 6 months and done nothing. I yelled at the trembling manager. I glanced at Ethan. He lazily held up 3 fingers. 3 weeks, I interpreted. Get it done or you're fired. The manager scrambled out. I turned to Ethan with a fake smile. Happy with my performance, sir. Ethan nodded, barely looking up. Not bad. I relaxed until he added, but I meant 3 days, not 3 weeks. Chloe, why do you always misunderstand me? I gritted my teeth. I'm so clumsy. Maybe next time, you should handle the friendly communication yourself. He stopped reading and stared at me until I squirmed. Chloe, why did I hire you again? I paused, because I'm good at yelling at people. Get out. Yes, sir. I graduated from a top university and worked my tail off for 3 years as a minor supervisor. Then Ethan promoted me because he discovered my talent for cursing. It happened a year ago. My heel got stuck in the elevator door during rush hour. Everyone stared. I was struggling to pull it out when someone kicked me from behind. I flew forward, face planting on the floor. My shoe went flying, the heels snapping off completely. Oops, sorry, Chloe. Let me help you up, sneered Brad, a rival manager still bitter about a project I won. He had clearly kicked me on purpose. I stood up, dusting myself off. You kicked me. His beady eyes gleamed, just trying to help. No hard feelings, right? I grabbed my broken shoe and shoved him out of the elevator just as the doors were closing. He tried to jump back in, but I blocked him. What are you doing? He demanded. You broke my shoe, you pay for it, I said flatly. It's new, full price, please. I wasn't trying to be difficult. I just really care about money. It's practically in my DNA. Brad looked around nervously at the passing colleagues. Chloe, give it a rest. Are you seriously making a scene over a shoe? It's embarrassing. Then pay up and I'll shut up, I replied, extending my hand. Cash or transfer? He grumbled and transferred the money. I checked my phone, received. You know, Chloe, he leered, scanning my body, I heard the client invited you over. Makes sense, a girl with your assets should use them. That chest and those legs would go to waste otherwise. I smiled sweetly. Brad, your mother must have worked hard on you. She probably hoped your face would prevent teen romance, but she didn't expect it to serve as permanent birth control. He stared at me, dumbfounded. I have a friend whose poodle is in heat, I continued, enjoying his shock. I think you two would make a lovely couple. Want me to set you up? He turned purple. You're a woman. How can you talk like that? I rolled my eyes. I was just warming up, but suddenly he stiffened and looked past me. Mister. Ethan, he squeaked. I froze. Ethan was standing right behind me. I turned around slowly. Mr. Ethan, I echoed, my voice shrinking. He nodded lazily and stepped into the elevator. The other employees froze. Why was the CEO taking the employee elevator? It was chaos. Everyone else instinctively backed away, leaving the elevator empty except for him. Chloe, get in, he said. There was at least a 5-level gap between us. He barely knew I existed, or so I thought. I limped in with my broken shoe, heart pounding. Was he going to fire me for harassment? The doors closed, silence. Your toes are quite expressive, he said suddenly. What? I looked down. My stocking had torn and my big toe was sticking out, wiggling in the open air. Great, another expense. Yes, I quipped, trying to save face. They come up with all my best ideas. I heard what you said to him, Ethan continued. Why were you so aggressive? Was he defending Brad? Boys' club, because I was being slut-shamed, I said, lifting my chin. If we weren't in the office, I would have scratched his face off. Ethan looked at me thoughtfully. Eloquent, good projection, great rhythm. You curse very well. I blinked. Was he serious? He looked normal, but maybe his brain was wired differently. The company needs talent like you. Be my assistant. Report tomorrow. I watched him walk away, stunned. With a leader like this, was the company doomed? I had seen Ethan before, many years ago. My family's fruit shop had been demolished to make way for a new development. My brother, Leo, had taken over the shop after our parents died. He dropped out of college to raise me and my younger brother, Luke. Luke was born with diabetes, and Leo spent every penny on his medical bills. When the new high-rise opened on our old land, I was there selling corn dogs from a second-hand cart. I just wanted to save some money for college. Ethan was there, a sharp, bored-looking executive among a crowd of balding businessmen. He looked out of place, impatient, like he wanted to be anywhere else. You can't sell that here. Move along, the security guard shouted at me. I'm not selling, I'm just watching, I argued. I was stubborn. The guard tried to grab my cart. I fought back. Ethan wandered over, drawn by the noise. I hated him instantly. He represented the developers who took our shop. Little girl, Ethan said with a faint, playful smirk. Sell me a corn dog, and I'll make him leave you alone. I looked at him with all the defiance of a small-town girl. I'd rather feed it to a dog. I still break into a cold sweat thinking about that. Luckily, he doesn't remember that wild girl. Chloe, Ethan's voice snapped me back to the present. Yes, sir, instructions. I have a blind date with Vanessa at 7 p.m. You're coming too. Yes, sir, and overtime pay. Triple. Understood. I'll remind you when it's time. I left his office, cursing under my breath. Ever since I became his assistant, my private life was non-existent. I wasn't social. I preferred working on projects to earn extra commissions. I was obsessed with money. Because I needed to buy a house for Leo and pay for Luke's treatment. Leo deserved better. He sacrificed everything for us. The second time I saw Ethan was years later at a university lecture. He was the executive director for East China, delivering a brilliant speech. I recognized him, of course, but the hostility was gone, replaced by a quiet admiration for his success. He made me crave that same success. Little did I know, men like him wrap exploitation in words like dreams and passion. I fell for it. I joined the company, working like a machine just to earn a slightly better salary. After work, Ethan's driver picked me up for the dinner. Ms. Chloe, Mr. Ethan asked me to fetch you. There's a blanket if you want a nap. I was exhausted. I fell asleep in minutes. I woke up in an underground parking lot. Ethan was sitting next to me, staring at me with those intense eyes. I jumped. Mr. Ethan, sorry I fell asleep. Will you deduct my overtime pay? Depends on your performance tonight. Sir, as a woman, can I suggest something? Bringing an assistant to a blind date is a bit much. It's too obvious you're trying to look busy. He didn't say a word. I usually stayed out of his business, but I really wanted him to get married so he'd leave me alone. New instructions, he said. Tonight you're my girlfriend. Not my assistant. Ethan, you total bastard. Reject her yourself. Why drag me into this mess? Vanessa was a standard socialite. Everything about her, even how she held her fork, was perfectly choreographed. We'd met at parties before. We were civil. Her eyes widened when she saw me on Ethan's arm. But she was too refined to lose her cool. I knew you two were close, Ethan. You kept it well hidden. She smiled, playing along. Chloe was hard to win over, Ethan replied smoothly. It took me a long time. She's very talented, Vanessa added, her voice dripping with artificial sweetness. I just smiled awkwardly. Talented. I'm just a high-end worker at your beck and call. They started talking business, and I focused on the food. I wasn't going to waste a free steak. While Ethan took a call, Vanessa leaned in. Have you heard of gold diggers, Chloe? I smirked. I'm very familiar. She scoffed. At least you're honest, but with your background. It's a waste not to be one. I nodded. True. Unlike some people who have nothing to offer but a pedigree and still have to fake a smile for the gold diggers. Vanessa turned green. She looked down on me, but her family was just using her as a bargaining chip. We were both pitiable in different ways. You don't belong at this table, she hissed. Then leave, I said, cutting my steak. Don't waste my Ethan's money. After Vanessa stormed out, Ethan returned. Vanessa had a stomach ache. She left, I said. I looked at the table full of food. Can we pack this up? It's a waste. Ethan suddenly burst out laughing. It wasn't his usual smirk. He looked genuinely amused. What? I asked, defensive. Nothing. Let's go. He drove me home. Where's the driver? I asked. It's after hours. I'm not a monster who overworks his staff. Oh, so you do no, I muttered. I fell asleep again. I was just so tired. I woke up at the dorms. Ethan was finishing a cigarette. Chloe, how did you get so brave today? I'm sorry, Ethan. I shouldn't have been so aggressive with Vanessa. It could hurt the business. He laughed. I'm not worried about the business. I just never forgot that girl with the hot dogs. You were much scarier then. I froze. He remembered. Don't worry, he said, watching me. I liked your spirit then. I still do. I hurried upstairs, my heart racing. Was he serious? Or just playing with me? Then the phone rang. It was Leo. Something was wrong. Luke's in the hospital. Diabetic ketoacidosis. It's bad. I ran down the stairs. Ethan was still there. Get in, he said. I need to go home. It's an emergency. I'm driving you. On the way, Ethan was surprisingly quiet. How bad is he? He asked. I just nodded. I was too terrified to speak. What can I do to help, Chloe? I'll let you know, thank you. He sighed. Why are you always so formal with me? Because you're my boss, I said, even though my heart was breaking. When he dropped me off, he asked, do you want me to stay? No, thank you. I'm already guilty for missing work. Guilty. I was terrified of losing my job. That was my lifeblood, but then I realized, how did he know Luke was sick? I hadn't told him. At the hospital, Luke was stable but hooked up to wires. Leo looked like he'd aged 10 years. He was bullied, Leo whispered. The neighborhood kids, they called him a fat pig. They said I'm a loser who can't get a wife, and you're just some girl doing bad things for money. My blood boiled. Why didn't you stop them? I screamed at Leo. He looked at me helpless. You're so weak, Leo. You let them hurt him. I'm working myself to death for this family, and you can't even protect a child. The echo of my shout filled the hospital hallway. Leo just stood there, devastated. I felt like a monster, but I couldn't stop. I was just so tired. 3 days later, I was back in the office. I handed Ethan my resignation. You're quitting? He asked. Yes, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. Why? It's in the letter. He tossed the letter aside. I want the real reason. The position is valuable. You'll find someone better. Ethan walked toward me, his eyes dark. Chloe, you said you wanted to be a gold digger. I blinked. He was bringing that up now. Then why don't you try digging for me? I was stunned. He reached out and pulled me into a slow embrace. Chloe, are you playing hard to get, or do you really not see how I feel? I wanted to cry. I wasn't a stone, I knew, but I couldn't. Ethan, I'm sick. I have clinical depression. I expected him to be shocked. Instead, he just whispered, I know. He'd seen my medication. He'd seen my struggles. He'd just been waiting for me to tell him. Is it the job? He asked. No, it's just me. I started seeing Dr. Miller. He was a slow-talking old man who wore blue socks with sandals. Why am I depressed? He asked. I'm paying you to tell me that, I yelled. Ethan was waiting in the hallway. When I stormed out, he caught me. "I'm going to kill myself," I screamed. "Everyone leave me alone." But minutes later, I was crying and apologizing. Dr. Miller just smiled. Ethan took me to lunch. "This place has great pasta," he said. "Ethan, you're so boring. Is food all you care about?" He went silent. Then I cried again. "I'm sorry, I'm crazy. Please just go away before I hurt you." He wiped my tears. "I'm the one who's crazy. Even when you're like this, I find you adorable." I looked at him, heart heavy. "You need to see Dr. Miller too, for your bad taste in women." I went home to the fruit shop. Ethan insisted on coming. "Why are you driving?" I teased. "Where's the driver?" "I don't need a third wheel," he said. "Luke saw us first." "Leo." "Chloe's back with a guy. She's not single anymore." Leo ran out. "A guy." "Really?" That night, Leo cooked a massive feast. He whispered to me, "What does he do for a living?" "He's the boss." "Oh." "He bought a house in that new development." "No," I said. "He built that development." Leo dropped his spoon. "Luke was already sold." "Thanks, brother-in-law. This Lego set is awesome." Ethan basked in the brother-in-law title. I just shook my head. For a night, we were almost a normal family. But the darkness was still there. Living at the shop, I saw Leo's life. He woke up at 3 a.m. every day. He threw away rotten fruit every night. "Why did you have to do this for us?" I cried, hidden in a corner. I felt like a parasite. I'd taken Leo's life away. He should have been in college. And Luke, why was he sick? He was just a burden. I hated him. I hated myself. I grabbed a fruit knife. The sting of the blade against my skin made me feel alive for a second. "Chloe, stop!" Leo screamed, grabbing the knife. I fought him. "Let me die." "Please." He dragged me outside and dumped a bucket of ice water over my head. I froze, shivering. The shock brought me back. "Are you done?" he panted. We both sat on the floor, crying. "I'm sorry, Leo. I'm so sorry." Family takes care of each other, Chloe. Don't you ever forget that. I left home a few days later to travel. I needed to find myself. I needed to heal. I traveled for 5 years. I saw the sun rise over the ocean, the northern lights, the vast prairies. I learned to breathe again. I learned to be Chloe, not just the assistant, not just the breadwinner. I was finally free. I met people from all walks of life. I saw how big the world was, and how small my pain could be if I just let it go. I learned to live for myself, not for a paycheck or a past I couldn't change. 5 years later, I returned for Leo's wedding. I was tanned, strong, and finally happy. I was ready to face the ghosts of my past. Leo was marrying a girl named Una. She was sweet, with a round face and a little dimple. "Hello, Chloe," she said with a warm smile. "Hello, sister-in-law," I replied. She blushed. I loved her already. The wedding was simple but beautiful. Leo and Una cried during their vows, and the guests joined them. They didn't have a new house or a fancy car, but they were happy. A familiar name was on the guest list. Ethan. He'd helped Leo with the hotel booking, but he hadn't shown up yet. I wondered if he would come. My heart fluttered for a second, then went still. I had moved on, haven't I? Suddenly, a tissue was offered to me. I looked up. It was Ethan. He sat down next to me. He looked older, but those eyes were still just as intense. We didn't say much. We just watched the ceremony. Then, a server accidentally spilled hot soup on my dress. Ethan was on his feet in a second, pulling me toward the restroom. "Let me help," he said, his voice urgent. He turned on the faucet and helped me wash the burn. "I waited for you, Chloe," he whispered as the water ran. My heart broke a little. I had loved him. I still did. But the world had kept turning while I was gone. He was still the man I knew, but I was a different woman. As we walked back, Ethan's phone rang. It was a cute nursery rhyme. "Daddy, Daddy," a toddler's voice chirped from the speaker. Ethan's face softened instantly. "Hey, little guy, did you eat?" Then Vanessa's voice came through. He's been looking for you all day." They sounded like a happy family. Vanessa and Ethan. I felt a strange sense of peace. He had a life, he had a son. "Who was that?" I asked, though I already knew. "My son," he said, almost apologetically. I smiled. "He sounds wonderful. You should go to them, Ethan." He looked at me, 100 emotions in his eyes. "Goodbye, Chloe." "Goodbye, Ethan." As his car drove away, I dialed his number one last time. "Chloe," he answered. "I'm sorry for leaving 5 years ago," I said. "It was selfish. But I needed to heal. I loved you, Ethan. I really did. But you're a father now and a husband. Be happy for them. For yourself." I hung up before he could say anything. It was the closure I needed. I looked at Luke, now a tall teenager, ready to go. "Where to, sis?" "Everywhere," I said, taking his hand. We walked toward the train as the first cherry blossoms began to fall. Spring was here. We were finally entering our own spring. The end.